Welcome to our Simple Healthy Life podcast, where our goal is to have real, insightful conversations on topics that we find interesting. And let's face it, this is one of those topics that I find incredibly interesting. And it's going to be a little bit of a reframe, a little change for the topic. Sometimes we talk about meditation and breath work. Today, I want to talk about stillness. Not something many of us do. In fact, something that most of us don't do ever. I think that there was a huge segment of the population, let's call it before television, that would do it before bed. And now got to talk to some people I haven't seen in a while, and the topic of like your habits before bed came up. And I was the only one out of the 10 or 12 of us that was like, I just shut the light off and go to bed. And like, you don't read or look at your iPad or watch TV or listen to the radio. Like, no, every single other one of them, right up through falling asleep, was not still.
Crazy. Like in bed?
Even in bed.
Wow.
So what's your, that wasn't what I was thinking about asking, but what's your pre-bed routine?
Yeah.
Pre-fall asleep routine, not just like after you get in bed, before you fall asleep.
Just go to sleep.
Really? You just close your eyes and go to bed.
Go right to sleep.
Like a psycho.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah. So every so infrequently will I read. I'll read on like the Kindle. So I'll do that every now and again if I like want to get into bed a little early, or I'm just not feeling quite tired, but I should probably be in bed. I'll read a little bit, but that doesn't last long, couple pages maybe, and then I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna go to bed. But yeah, I don't use my phone. I don't use my phone ever in bed.
Really? Is there a TV in your bedroom?
No.
Really?
No. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So me and you might be the only two people that I know. Corey falls asleep with the TV on every night.
Really?
In fact, it's like one of our my biggest challenges to like get her to shut it off.
Wow.
I wake up in the middle of the night and she, maybe too much info, but she maybe won't listen to this one. She watches Nickelodeon. So like 2 o'clock in the morning, like Rugrats or SpongeBob will be on, and it's very frustrating for me.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so, and like I said, almost everybody I talk to, they have something that they do in bed that's not stillness. It's not preparing themselves for the morning. God, any pre-bed routine?
No, I go straight to bed.
Wow.
Think for 20 minutes.
Wow. Okay.
Go straight to bed and thinks for 20 minutes.
Nice. Okay. So maybe there's people out there like us.
Yeah.
I just didn't meet them this weekend or know any of them.
Yeah, that is strange. So that, that's a good form of stillness. In fact, I kind of enjoy that time, like that pre-sleep time. I would say maybe 75% of the time I get into bed and I like lay there, my first thought is, this feels kind of nice. Feels kind of nice to just have nothing going on. And I reflect a little bit on the day, and I don't write it's not like I'm writing anything down, but I'm just kind of in my thoughts, just thinking about how nice it is to not be doing anything, to be still.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice. Well, I'm in alignment with that, but I would tell you or argue that majority of people, they don't do that.
Yeah.
They have something that they do in bed. In fact, I would argue that almost everybody I know doesn't spend any time in stillness.
Mm-hmm.
If they are at work trying to figure something out, they're trying to figure something out, or multitasking, or, for the majority of us, we don't even spend the majority of our time working on just one thing. And I think that that's just so different than the way that we've evolved into, like right up until, I would even argue, one generation ago. Like, I think we're the first generation. I know it's a weird word, right? Like, we're the first group of humans to come through that don't spend any time in stillness and spend very little of their time only focused on one thing. And I think with the oncoming of social media, it's very rare that we spend any amount of time focused on just one thing. You agree?
Yeah. No, I think it's kind of challenging in our day to day to not have the distractions, not have the constant stimulation. And I think that it builds, right? It's like the brain becomes so used to having the stimulation that then you have a hard time not seeking it out, right?
Oh, how many screens do you have open during your day?
All the screens.
All of them, right? Isn't that wild? And screens that are telling you different things.
Mhm.
They're not even on the same topic.
Right.
One that's probably a Zoom, one that's probably data about something that you want to talk about, your phone that might have something that's going on throughout the day. And I think we all live in this world.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I find to be very interesting is we all have decided as a society that you get rewarded for being good at it, for being good at being able to handle multiple screens and multiple things. And, you know, whether it's your job or your job in your family, we get rewarded for it financially, monetarily, promotions, like, but is it good for us?
Yeah, I guess that's the question. There are certainly folks who often feel the need to be productive, and if they're not productive, then some essence of negative self-talk arises, or negativity in general, and self-judgment occurs, and that's not good. Anything that leads to self-judgment and self-criticism that is harsh and mean, and I distinguish that because I think some essence of reflection on how you act is great, but it should never lead to severe self-judgment or being super critical of yourself, right? And so I know that's a problem that people struggle with. Do you struggle with that? The feeling need of productivity?
It depends on who you ask. The truth is, I feel like I'm constantly pushing myself to do more, to fill my time, because I feel like I'd spend a lot of time, quote, a lot would be my don't even know what that is. I never really evaluated it, wasting my time. However, based on the last few 5-8 years of my life, learning the value of stillness and the value of meditation, I still put that in there and I don't consider that a waste of time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when I'm actively practicing stillness or actively practicing meditation, I don't feel like I'm wasting my time. And that took me a while to get to, right? There's like a quote that says like, everybody should meditate for 5 minutes a day. And if you don't have the time, then it should be an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And like, for me, like that makes a lot of sense to me, because what I found through stillness is exactly what ChatGPT will tell you, exactly what AI will tell you. Like, my stress response is better. My sympathetic response is better. I'm more creative. I'm more focused through doing this process of stillness. And the more I've looked it up, the more I've studied it, and the more I understand the way the brain works. When you do practice being still, your prefrontal cortex actually expands, and your amygdala, the part that is your emotional response, actually will actually shrink, of all things. So just from a science perspective, from a brain perspective, being still is going to help and does help me be better at the tasks that I do. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So-
Yeah. I mean, they know the coolest things about like people who are classified as advanced meditators, they physiologically operate different than other people, right? They have lower heart rates. Their brainwaves are a little bit more leaning to like the creative kind of side, like the theta, kind of like dreamlike kind of brainwaves. Obviously they're less reactionary. They have less health issues, probably because of like lower blood pressure and improved stress management, all that kind of stuff. But here's a hot, maybe not hot take. Lack of productivity doesn't necessarily mean you're being still. And so you can be hyper stimulated and not productive, such as like playing a video game or something, you're not still. You're actually you're doing more of what your brain has already spent all day doing. It's just like the common like trope, like, oh, I'm so tired. I worked all day. I just don't have the mental energy for anything. Let me go home and play this very stimulating, complex video game
Or scroll.
or scroll again. Let me bombard my brain with all of this sensory input when it's already tired. That's not stillness.
Right. And that we pretend like it is.
Right.
It's like that where I was going with this thing in the like before bed. Like, okay, what if you took a few minutes to be still before bed? And scrolling through Instagram is not what I'm talking about. Right? Watching mindless television is not what I'm talking about. Even though for many of us that's the thing that we do, right? When you said we're
Sure,
overstimulated,
I'll
we're
do it,
tired,
yeah.
put on a rerun, something you've already seen. You already kind of know what's going to happen.
Mm.
That's not being still. That's not what I'm talking about.
Right.
What I'm talking about is actively closing down your senses and just allowing yourself to just be.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, there's this quote about we're not human doings, we're human beings, right? And the goal to make the body and mind operate the best is essentially for at least some period of your day to just be. And now I tell you that and I say that and people are like, that all makes sense and it sounds good. And then they try it and they're like, can't do it. We're not doing it. I'm stupid. I don't know why they even said that. All I did was think about yesterday or today or all things I got to do tomorrow.
Yeah.
It doesn't do me any good. I'd rather just scroll.
Right.
And truth is, that's true. Like a lot of that's what's going to happen when you first try being still.
Right.
But if I told you, and I am telling you, that being still will improve your ability to focus, it'll improve your creativity. I mean, think about all of these. Think about the, past generations, right? They had to create things. They had to figure out stuff. It wasn't already there for them. I mean, we have, for the most part, we could go through our entire life and never have to create anything if we wanted to.
Many people do, I'm sure.
And but when you start to create stuff, you start to use your imagination, your life becomes a little bit more in alignment with who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a big piece that people miss.
It feels good. It feels good. That's what brings a lot of meaning. It's like to take whatever thoughts and imagination you have and bring it to existence. That's the epitome, I think, of what work probably should be, right? Work is like effort, but hopefully it's meaningful. Hopefully it's meaningful effort, right? If you're slaving and you have this like, we just talked about beliefs, but work is this, you have this belief that work is this like bad thing that like you just are forced to do because someone told you you need to do this and, you just slave away and work is always this bad thing. Then, yeah, I mean, you're probably going to steer yourself away from nice, healthy, productive work too, stuff that's super meaningful, right? Work is I guess anything that takes effort, and drawing takes effort. Music takes effort. Jiu-jitsu, sports takes effort. It all takes effort, but you don't think of those things as, as these like as work, even though it still is. It's still effort that you have to exert, and we have to kind of like redefine what productivity and stillness kind of mean for us, right? Stillness is not scrolling and mindless stuff, although we're not necessarily saying that that's a bad thing. That it's a thing that you can do, obviously, right? But it doesn't actually reset you in the way that you think it might, right? To get home and like be constantly stimulated doesn't give your brain the chance to take a walk and do its thing. And then you're gonna feel crazy if you don't allow for that. And I'll tell you right now, like the last couple of weeks last like maybe month or two, I've been super stimulating just with everything, especially busy and all that kind of stuff and whatever, but just very stimulated. And I can tell you, I feel it. And then the need to be stimulated, like creeps up on you. And so, that's not stillness, and productivity isn't necessarily mundane slave driving work.
Well said.
Cheers.
So many people that are listening to this are definitely on the side that you're talking about, right? They feel this need to be proactive, productive, always be doing something, learning, growing, making themselves better, right? I think we have a lot of listeners out there that are essentially trying to make themselves better, right? And kudos. And I think we're on the same camp. And what if I was to offer you this information? The way the brain works is something called neuroplasticity. You've heard of this. We've talked about this. Many people have not. So I'll kind of give you this analogy. Neuroplasticity is essentially, if you think about pulling on something that is like taffy, right? You pull it, and then what does it do? It kind of like springs back. Then you pull it again, and it's a little longer, and then it springs back. And then you pull it again, and it's a little longer. Well, what our brains need in order to be the most effective they can be at learning is that time where it pulls back. That's stillness, right? So especially for people that are that have kids, right? Maybe it's too late for us, but for the kids out there, people that have kids, like teaching them, even if you just put them and offer them the opportunity to be still for a little period of time. No phones, no distractions, just sit or lay down, try to stay awake. What's happening is your brain is doing that pullback section, and it's actually allowing for all of the lessons that they learn throughout the day to be more impactful. I don't think many people recognize that. Like the brain needs both sides. It needs the active, and it needs the rest. And we don't give it the rest. As adults, we just don't. And as kids, now we don't, because they're on the phone, on the thing all the time, way more than even as adults are.
Right.
So for people listening to this thinking, maybe I would give that a try, offer it up to somebody to say, this will make you more productive by taking that stillness. This will allow for greater creativity by taking that stillness. This will allow for more, better, longer focus by taking that stillness.
Yeah. It's interesting as you were mentioning that. I was recalling some learning strategies, I guess you'll call it, that, if you're trying to improve in, a specific skill or like chess or something like that, they have all these kinds of learning programs that have been popularized by the greats. So I guess you'd call it. And a lot of those programs I've noticed have breaks, like long breaks. It's like bombard your brain with this kind of context, whether it's like chess or something, like do a bunch of puzzles, play a bunch of games, then take 2 weeks off. Don't even think about it. And then go and resume afterwards. And that's like the 2 weeks off gives your brain a break to assimilate all that information. You can't do something every single day and expect to learn. You need the time, that stillness for assimilation to happen.
Funny story, randomly. Last night, actually very strange, because last night, Corey and I watch Jeopardy all the time. And we watched the Jeopardy Masters that was on last night. And one of the Jeopardy Masters, the dude won 5 games of Jeopardy, be on there, was he had a brain injury a few years ago, and they were like, "Oh, you're basically a modern miracle." He said through some hyperbaric chamber work and the power of neuroplasticity, he was able to get his mind back. He was struggling to comprehend complex challenges and issues, and he actually used it specifically as a way to get himself all the way back to where he was on Jeopardy Masters.
That's incredible.
How cool is that? And that was something that just happened last night. I wasn't even planning on talking about it, but I thought that was pretty interesting.
That is so cool. Have you ever seen those videos of creation of new neurons? You've seen those?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is wild. That it's like basically like the neuron is kind of like reaching out for neighbor neurons and then like connects, and it's just beautiful process of like a system that's alive and learning and making these like incredible connections. And yeah, I mean, that's happening all day long. They say that we adults will create 800 neurons. So that's not necessarily like connections, but we have the possibility in a healthy environment, we're moving, we're eating well, we can create 800 neurons. As far as connections, I'm not sure. I'm sure that just varies too much for the data to come up on. But what I do know is that children, toddlers, take a guess at how many neural connections they make.
Oh, it's got to be a ton.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, if we make 800, I'm going to say they make 1,000.
They make 1 million connections a second.
Wow.
No, not wild. That's not neurons, it's neural connections, but, you know, incredible.
So I know, so weird that I'm going to take this completely different, but it's our podcast. I can do what I want.
Yeah.
So when you brought up, is God's laughing in there, I think. When you brought up the picture of the neuron, I was reminded of this picture that I saw that was like the neurons in the brain, and then they showed like the universe from like the Hubble telescope and how much those looked alike.
Yeah.
And then now I'm thinking about like how when you're younger, it's almost like the Big Bang, like you're just 1 million in a second, and everything's infinite and it's unlimited possibilities. And then we believe now that the universe is like slowed down, right? And like that's essentially what the adult does. It slows down the ability to make those new neurons and connections. Not sure why that just came in my head, but maybe there's something there. Maybe I'll be proven right later on. AI, you hearing that?
Yeah. Do you know the guy with the highest recorded IQ? Do you know his name?
It's recent though, right?
Yeah, he's alive. He's I don't know, in his 60s or something. He like, I think he works on like a farm. It's really interesting. But he has like the highest recorded IQ, 190 or 220. I don't know, something. It's the highest right now, living at the very least. And he has this theory. He's written books on it. Maybe one book, I don't know. And it's called the cognitive theoretic model of the universe, I think is the CMTU or something, CTMU, something like that. And his whole idea is that which you just brought up is that God is the like we're in the mind of God. The universe is the mind of God. Essentially, it's like a one-word description of this, like, I'm sure very calculated, very advanced model, but
can't be that advanced if I'm in alignment. No,
yeah, but I thought that was very interesting, and so yeah, that's just kind of what makes me think of that. But yeah, I forget his name. I'm sure you can Google it, and it's up there. But that's his theory
really?
on yeah, and he's very like, it's crazy. You listen to this guy talk, and there's like, I can't even follow what he's saying. It's like it's dense, and who knows, maybe that's just part of like, you know. I suppose if someone is really, really intelligent, they could break it down for kids to learn, is another saying. But yeah, interesting kind of stuff on that front.
So it's very common for us to sit here and talk about meditation, but I don't think that we should do that this time. I think we should talk about other ways that you can be in stillness. And I think the number one thing that I want people to know is you can choose to be in stillness by going for a walk. Now, just don't bring your phone.
Right. Leave it at home.
Just leave it at home, right? Don't engage in conversation with others as you're walking by. I mean, I'm not saying like not engage, but like just allow yourself to walk and look, right? And when you catch yourself thinking about something that doesn't matter, just let it go by. And let that be your gateway to stillness. It serves a couple purposes. It gets you out on your own, gets you walking and moving, and you'll find yourself do this. Try the walking in stillness for a little while, and I'd be almost guaranteeing that you'll have a creative expression come through, something different that you haven't thought of before.
Definitely.
And I think so many people don't recognize that. I know for me, and I can do a better job. I don't really like running, but I do it 3 days a week. I could do a better job of running with just nothing.
Yeah.
You know, I've got to have my podcast on or my book, or, you know, I don't even run with music anymore. I probably should, because that's a little better than what I'm doing.
The drive home, just go raw. Don't throw anything on. It's a beautiful experience, especially if it's like a little dark. It's kind of quiet. The drive home, like I would say half the times on the drive home jiu-jitsu, it takes me about 30 minutes. I'll throw nothing on, and I'll just I'll sit there and reflect. And it's really nice, especially after movement too, because you've kind of expelled some kind of like energy there, and just to let the thoughts just kind of go. And that's where, yeah, that's where creativity happens. We talk about it often, but people go through their whole day stimulated and with information coming in, and you don't even have a chance to think. Your brain is not even allowed to do its thing, and then the things that it can do are beautiful. You might have an idea that you connect three different areas of interest that you have, or specialties that you have. You allow the brain to walk, and it connects all of those and has one beautiful idea, right? Like, that's super cool. So yeah, I mean, that's another, journaling. We talk about that. That's another one to allow for some stillness too. That's just sitting with your thoughts as well.
So I'm try on purpose to touch as many different members of our audience as I can with this discussion. And I know there's so many members of our audience that are out there, and they're essentially trying to be a peak performer, right? They're trying to be the best mom that they can be, the best dad they can be, the best jujitsu practitioner that they can be, the best at their job, that we're all trying to be the best. And I think if you took a second to recognize that when you talk to these peak performers, these people, they all will tell you that what you're not doing is stillness. So if you're like thinking, I've been beating my head up against the wall, trying to be better, maybe take a listen to what we're saying now. Give it a shot. Try it a few times for the next couple days. Just see how it goes. I think that a lot of our listeners will be shocked at how beneficial it is for them.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And I think if you're one of those people who feels, self-judgmental or self-critical because you're not being as productive as what you would hope, know that that's a little bit of a behavior too. If you're criticizing every day, I could have done more. Well, what are your standards? Like, how if you don't have definitions for what a productive day is, then every day is going to be not productive. You're not going to feel happy about it. So what is it that you feel is a productive day? Is it getting XYZ for work done, or is it actually taking a break and then practicing stillness? But again, the whole point is like to keep it self-serving. It doesn't have to be productive to be self-serving, but it should always be self-serving. And it's important to do things from a healthy perspective, right? Someone can love the work they do and do a lot of work and be very, very productive and have a terrible perspective on it. They could feel like they're slaving away and feel like they don't get any breaks and feel like, whatever. Or someone could do it and feel good about it, feel like that's what they want to do because they're making a difference. And so, checking the perspective. If you feel like you're just doing things because you feel like you should and you don't have a strong why, well, that's probably not a very good idea then.
Yeah, I'm definitely guilty of that. I can be guilty of it quite a bit. And I think that's some great advice for everybody. Well, I hope that we offered you at least some information and maybe influenced you or inspired you to be still just a little bit throughout your day. If you have any questions or comments or want to talk about more about this topic is a topic that is very near and dear to us here on the podcast, just reach out, let us know. We look forward to talking to you in the future.